Good evening, viewer. Welcome to our Glory Globe TV years of breaking news. After weeks of intensive diplomacy aimed at securing a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah militants, the United States has settled on an altogether different approach. Let the unfolding conflict in Lebanon play out. Just 2 weeks ago, the United States and France were demanding an immediate 21-day ceasefire to ward off an Israeli invasion of Lebanon. That effort was derailed by Israel's assassinations of Hezbollah leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah, the October 1 launch of Israeli ground operation in southern Lebanon, and Israeli airstrikes that have wiped out much of the group's leadership. Now, US officials have dropped their calls for a ceasefire, arguing that circumstances have changed. We do support Israel launching these incursions to degrade Hezbollah's infrastructure so ultimately we can get a diplomatic resolution. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller told a press briefing earlier this week. The course change reflects conflicting US goals, also the containing the ever-growing Middle East conflict while also severely weakening Iran-backed Hezbollah. The new approach is both practical and risky. The US and Israel would benefit from the defeat of a common enemy, Hezbollah, which Tehran uses to threaten Israel's northern border, but encouraging Israel's widening military campaign wreaks a conflict that spins out of control. John Alterman, a former State Department official, said the US wants to see Hezbollah weaken but must weigh that against the risks of creating a vacuum in Lebanon or provoking a regional war. Washington's approach, he said, seems to be if you cannot change the Israeli approach, you might as well try to channel it in a constructive way. Israel's latest fight with Hezbollah started when the group fired missiles at Israeli positions immediately after October 7, 2023, attack by Hamas gunmen on Israel that triggered the Gaza, where Hezbollah and Israel have been exchanging fire over since. As months of indirect ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas went nowhere, Israel in September began ramping up its bombardment of Hezbollah and landed painful blows on the group, including remotely detonating Hezbollah pagers and radios, wounding thousands of the group's members. After Nasrallah's death, which the US called a measures of justice, US President Joe Biden called again for a ceasefire along the Israel-Lebanon border. The government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu launched its ground invasion anyway, and within a few days the US had dropped its calls for a ceasefire and expressed support for its allies' campaign. Arson David Miller, a former US Middle East negotiator, said Washington had little hope of restraining Israel and saw potential benefits in the operation. Behind the exclusive report, Glory Globe TV.